Hey everybody. So we talk to a lot of people out here on the road. We talk to a lot of people who are new in expediting. We talk to people through email, through comments, through Facebook. And after talking to some of these people, it got me to thinking about this video that I wanted to do. And today what I want to talk about is what people perceive expediting or being out on the road to be versus what the reality of expediting or being out on the road is. Let's talk about a few of the things, perception versus reality. First thing I want to talk about is people's perception of this job is we get to visit and see all kinds of cool places and spend time in these places. While the reality is, yes, we do get to see a lot of cool places. Most of the time, we are just passing by those places. We're on a delivery time. We don't have time to stop and actually get to stop and enjoy and see a lot of these places. There's a lot of places that I'm, after 4 years of being out here, still would love to see that we just have not had the chance or opportunity or have the time to be able to stop and see those. As you're out here longer, and there's a lot of factors, you know, if you own your own truck, you may have a little bit more flexibility to do that. But when you're first starting out, you know, I think our whole first year, we didn't take any time to stop and see anything. We just didn't. So that's one thing. Next thing is the perception people have when they get out here is that they're going to be running non-stop. And the reality is, in expediting, there is a lot of sitting. There's a lot of downtime that you're sitting waiting on loads. There's a lot of times you're running also, but certain time of the year, certain situations with the economy, holidays, there's all kind of factors. You know, if you take a load to an area that's not a good freight area, you're going to be sitting longer waiting for a load. Next thing I want to talk about, the perception if people may have when or before they get out here is they're going to get out here, run 2 or 3 weeks, and then get to go home for a few days or a week. In reality, especially if you work for an owner, most owners require at least a 4 to 6 week minimum before you can take home time. If you own your own truck, again, there's a little bit more flexibility to that, but also, you have to realize if you're not out here running, you are not making money. You do not get a paid vacation time when you're out here in expediting. Next thing is a lot of people perceive, I think, like husband and wife teams. We've had emails of people asking us this. Splitting hours, like perception is one of you can drive for 5 hours, then we'll switch, the other one will drive for 5 hours. The next one's going to switch and drive 6 hours, vice versa. So you're not having to drive long periods of time, when in reality, the way that the hours of service are set up now, you're not going to be able to do that, especially not in expediting. In expediting, most every load you're doing is you're going to have a certain amount of time to get it there. And you know, unless it's just off the wall load that you may have extra time on, most loads you're not going to have that extra time. And the way your hours of service work, you're not going to be able to split your time like that. You're going to have to drive an 8 to 10 hour shift before the other one takes over, and vice versa, so you can maximize the hours that you have to continue running. The next one is always being able to ride up front with your significant other. Again, the reality is that's not the case. First of all, with hours of service, you are only allowed to be up front for 2 hours off duty, and the rest of the time you're to be in the sleeper berth. That's just how hours of service work. Secondly, if you're on a long run, you're not going to be able to be up here all the time. One of you is going to be sleeping while the other one is driving. That's just the reality. You're not going to be able to be spending all of your time together. You have a job to do when you're out here, and your job is driving, and you need to get your rest. So, which means, again, one of you is driving, one of you is sleeping. Next thing is, the perception is you can come into expediting and be a company driver. Reality, There are no company drivers in expediting. You are an independent contractor. So with that also means you're not getting health benefits. You're not getting a guaranteed pay every week. You're not getting paid vacation. So no company drivers in expediting. Next thing, the perception is, well, if I work for an owner, I don't need to track my numbers or keep my receipts. I'm working for an owner. No, the reality is you are still an independent contractor, whether you work for an owner or own your own truck, and you are running a business. So you do need to track your numbers. You need to know what you're running for. You need to know what money is going out, what money is coming in, what your expenses are. And yes, you need to track your receipts, because at the end of the year, you're going to have to turn those in and maximize your tax deductions. You're not getting taxes taken out of your check as an independent contractor. So it is up to you to make sure that you have all the paperwork and are getting all the tax write-offs that you can at the end of the year. The next perception is, oh, your job's easy. All you do is drive. Driving's easy. How hard can that be? When the reality is, yeah, driving's not so bad, but put that with driving in traffic, driving in bad weather, driving long periods of time, driving at night, there's so many factors that we have to deal with out here on the road, and driving is stressful. Now, sure, driving from my house to grandma's house, which is 2 miles away, no, that's really easy. But when you're driving 600 plus miles a day in a 11-hour period, it can get stressful, some of the things that you have to deal with out here. Next thing, perception that you don't need any money to get you started out here, especially if you're going to drive for an owner. Reality is, it doesn't matter if you own your own truck or you're driving for an owner. You need to have some money set aside, because one, you're not going to start getting a paycheck right away. And two, you need money to live out on the road. So if you're strapped for cash coming out here, it's just that much harder for you to get up and get ahead and not struggle. We would suggest having at least a month's worth of bills set aside, that much money for a month worth of bills set aside before you get out here. Next thing, this is one I always laugh at every time I hear it, and we just had somebody ask us this the other day because somebody had said this to them. The perception is you don't drive an 18-wheeler, so you're not a real truck driver. When reality is, just because we don't drive a tractor trailer or an 18-wheeler, does not mean we are not a true or real truck driver. We have to adhere to all the same DOT regulations that somebody driving an 18-wheeler has to. We have to go through every weigh station. If we don't get a bypass or it's closed, we have to take a physical every 1 or 2 years depending, and have hold a medical card. So yes, just because we do not have a Class A CDL, which by the way, Jason does have a Class A CDL, I have a Class B, but just because we drive a straight truck does not mean that we're not real truck drivers. We fuel the same way, we use the same showers, we stop and stay at the same truck stops that all the truck drivers do. So that's the biggest one that I always have to laugh at. Next thing, perception, oh, I can shower every day. Reality, no, there's not always time to shower every day, especially when you are on a time crunch. So we try to do that, and when we can, but reality is you're not always going to get to shower every single day, even as much as you try. Last thing that I have is the perception of you'll always have the correct pickup and drop off information for every load that you do. Reality, that is not always the case. As much as we would like to think that, we don't always have all the information we need. You may get to a pickup, you need a pickup number, you haven't been provided that. Contact name and number may be wrong. Pickup times or drop-off times may be wrong. There's all kinds of factors that go into that, and I'm not going to point fingers to blame it on anybody. Just realize that there are going to be snafus with pickups and deliveries. It just happens. So those are just a few of the things that have come to mind. I'd like to hear y'all's thoughts. If you have some perceptions that you've heard versus a reality check. Leave them down in the comments. I get a kick out of it. I love hearing what y'all think. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. As always, thank you so much for watching and subscribing to our channel. If you haven't subscribed already, don't forget to click that subscribe button down below. We'd love to have you along for the ride. And until our next video, peace, love, and expediting.